This clown just won't die. And also, I'm pretty sure that the real monster in this movie is actually like reliving childhood trauma. I'm reviewing It, Chapter 2. I'm giving my pros, cons, trigger warnings, and my twisted final grade. Hey Twisted people, it's your Twisted Girl here, and today I am doing a review of It, Chapter 2. Based on the novel by Stephen King, 27 years after their first encounter with the terrifying Pennywise, the Losers Club have grown up and moved away until a devastating call brings them all back. It Chapter 2 has a lot going on, maybe too much. Yet, Pennywise is still pretty creepy, and there's compelling emotional depth within the horror, but this movie also could have benefited from being 20 to 30 minutes shorter. Acting. All around, the cast did a really good job of holding their own with what they were given. In the first one, all you know are the kids. And then in the second one, we have to get to know them as adults. So we didn't get to know them too much as adults in the first one. So the movie had the hard task of making it so that these kids that you got used to, and some of them that you liked and whatnot, that you had to now translate maybe those feelings over to this new face, these new bodies that are 27 years older. And so that's a hard task. And I think each of the actors did a fine job in, really holding their own when it came to portraying the trauma of the characters, the growth of the characters, some of the hangups that they still had, to the point where it translated really well, that you still felt like this was that character that you got used to in the first one. So kudos to casting, of course, but also kudos to the actors for being able to still get those quirks and that the ways about their younger counterparts, that in a way that really translated, that you truly believe that they were the older versions of them. That's kind of the crux of it, because if that hadn't worked, then anything else they tried to build on top of that probably would have felt like just a totally, entirely new movie with these people who are just trying to escape a clown. Emotional depth. This movie definitely wasn't like all jump scares or many jump scares at all when it came to telling this story. The heart of the movie was about the heart of the Losers Club, was about this friendship, these bonds, the brokenness that happened once they got away from each other and kind of, totally forgot each other in a way, and what that did to them, and also what it meant for them to come back together and lean on each other in such a powerful way. And that was very much the crux of this film. I think they really drove home character introspection, character exploration when it came to the arcs of each character. Like I said, some got a little bit more to chew on than others, but I think the movie really tried, to really push home the idea of humanizing the situation, because you could have made it so they all come back and it's just kind of like everything's going on and they just have this task. But I think the movie did a well enough job in making it so that each of them were going through their things that was symbolic of what they dealt with in their childhood trauma that was also supernatural, but also a lot of things that kids go through on a regular basis in terms of who they are, their identity, their home life, and whether or not that's traumatic. And I think the movie really tried to drive that home, for better or for worse, depending on, how you view it. But I think I'm going to say it's a pro. Chaotic. Oh my gosh, there was so much going on in this movie. I mean, I think we got maybe 20 minutes of downtime before, of course, they all go back to Derry. And then it's just like one thing after another. And some stuff happened so quickly, and then other things dragged on. It was weird. It was a very weird, I guess maybe the con isn't just the fact that it was chaotic, but it was also chaotic and also like uneven pacing in a way, because there would be moments where certain scenes kind of dragged on longer than they needed to, but right after that there would be so much going on with each of the characters, and it's weird because I don't know if this is going to make sense, but the Losers Club is only a handful of people, right? But it felt like, because they were jumping around to everyone, it just felt like such a huge cast. It felt like so many things to focus on, if that makes sense. And I think too many things to focus on. So you couldn't really settle into the plot. Atmosphere. This kind of connects to the idea of the chaos, because, like I was saying, that you couldn't settle in to anything. The atmosphere also suffered for it, because in horror movies, you kind of have to build that kind of moment up to that really creepy jump scare, or maybe not so much a jump scare, maybe it's a real scare, things like that. And so usually you kind of have to build certain things up. That's kind of the formula of horror, right? Like there's a build up to that moment that it's coming, and it's kind of like a roller coaster ride. Like you're going up higher and higher because you're about to hit the drop. So you need those moments. And I think the movie didn't give you enough of those moments. When it did slow down, it was moments where you kind of knew nothing was about to happen. They were just taking this moment to focus on something. And so when the other moments happened that were supposed to be the scary moments, that were supposed to be the jump scares or the real scares or something actually happening or death, I don't think you got the real, frenzied, exciting, horror-filled build-up that you could have had. There were a few moments like that, but not enough. And I think that was because so much was happening that you didn't get a chance to kind of dwell on it or build up to it. CGI overuse. Well, this was my same issue with the first film, and pretty much a lot of newer horror films, I feel like. And maybe it's my bias. I like practical effects. I think horror is better when it looks real and not computerized, if that makes sense. I think it makes sense. And I think one of the issues I had with this rendition of it, in comparison to like the Tim Curry version, was, yes, it was Tim Curry version, it was a TV miniseries. It was kind of low budget. They couldn't do a lot of stuff. But there were certain moments, because it was so like, they didn't have the computer to lean on, they didn't have the animatronics or whatever they were doing in this film, that it just felt more tangible, if that makes sense. And my issue with this version of Pennywise, there would be times when he just got real, like, cartoon-like, like too cartoon-like. And I thought that was when the movie suffered a lot of the time. I mean, there were just moments where it was like, things would happen with his body, or they would contort, where I'm just like, okay, I feel like they were just sitting there and was like, oh, this would be cool if this happened right now, with no real, like, reasoning. Length. I wouldn't have had a problem with it being almost 3 hours long if the pacing was better, right? I mean, I get it. They had a lot they were trying to do, but knowing the book, I should say, there was still stuff they didn't do. So it was like, you had almost 3 hours and you didn't even do some of the stuff. So that means that some of the moments that you had, some of the time was spent on things that you didn't need to have. So I lean towards saying that this could have been a shorter film. Now, I say that to say, because of the fact, like I said, the time that they used wasn't as efficient. Now, had they used it more efficiently, I would have been fine with a 3-hour film. Hey, let's dig deep into Stephen King's It. Hello, this is great. But they didn't do that. So it was kind of like, some of those scenes was like, what's good? Why is this so long? Child death. Hate speech. Hate crime. Domestic violence. Attempted sexual assault. That is a really long list. I do think this film is totally, Twisted approved. I definitely think it was a quality enough movie, with the characters, with the portrayals, and I think it was a fine attempt at such a massive, epic novel to take on. And I think, given the time that they had with it, I think it was a decent enough try. I don't think it was as good as it could have been. So my Twisted final grade for It Chapter 2 is C+. Okay, y'all, so that is my review of It Chapter 2. My pros, my cons, my trigger warnings, and my twisted final grade. What did you think of It Chapter 2? If you've seen it, what are you feeling about it? Do you agree with my pros? Do you agree with my cons? Are you still excited to see it if you haven't seen it? And do you care about what some of these reviewers are saying? Or you're kind of like, you just don't get it? Let me know. Comment down below. And also, be sure to subscribe. Press that subscribe button so you are the first to know when I post my videos of all things horror and dark fantasy. Thanks for watching.